Hi everyone, I am Nikhil. And if you haven't checked out my blog yet, please check the link in the description box where I have documented all my front end interview experiences and questions, and that will really help you if you are preparing for your front end interviews. This keyword in JavaScript represents the object that it belongs to, and it depends completely on how a function is called. Now let's break it down. Which is that object that this belongs to in a global context? Now if we do console.log this in browser, let's see what it prints. It prints the window object. What is this window object? You will see alert, a lot of other inbuilt JavaScript functions that you have been using. In fact, console.log itself belongs to this window object. Instead of console.log, if you do window.console.log, right, you will notice that it does the same thing. So when there is nothing, then everything belongs to the window object, or in global context everything belongs to the window object. Now let's see how it behaves in a function. In a function, if you do console.log this, it again prints a window object. Why? Because I initially told you that this depends on how a function is called, and if you can see foo is called in a global context here. So if you do window.foo, it will print the same thing because now foo is attached to the window object as it is global. So in simple terms, you can say that when there is nothing, there is a window object. Now what are the other ways of invoking a function? Let's look at method invocation. Here we have a foo object which has a function in x and y as a string. If we do foo.x, it will print hello. Now let's try to print this instead of this.y. See, it will print the foo object. Now it doesn't print window. Why? Because now x is called upon a foo object rather than the window object. Now let's take a look at constructor invocation. When you create object using a new keyword, JavaScript creates a blank object and then assigns the value depending on the function. So here you can see that this represents the newly created object, where's type car, and if you do vehicle.type, it will basically print whatever the value that has been assigned to the newly created object. So here it will represent car. Now let's jump back to method invocation. Here we have the same object foo, where x is a function, y is a string. We have another variable where we have another value for y. Now if you do foo.x, right, it will print hello. Now but if you do foo.x.call, right, so it will print something else, that is hi. So how did it change? So if you have heard about call, bind and apply, so call, bind, apply are the this refreshers. So what they do is that they set a new value to the this of an existing function. So now using these call, bind and apply, you can set any value to the this. So that is one of the advantages. You can see in apply also it's like that, and bind basically returns a function that can be called later. So we'll be storing that in a variable called as new foo, and then we will call new foo. So it will also print the same thing, right, hi. But if you just do foo.x, it will print hello because now x belongs to foo. In other cases, x there was a new context being set using call, bind and apply. Now let's take a look at some edge cases. So when you use strict, right, in that case inside a function it will return undefined rather than the window object. Let's take a look at another interesting question. Here we have the same object, but we have another global variable.
Y.
Now foo.x gave us hello as expected. Now suppose we have another variable where we assign foo.x, but we are not calling it, and then we call that bar function. It will not print hello, so it printed hello. Why? Because as I told you, that value of this depends on how a function is called, and here bar is called in a global context, so bar is a window.bar, as I told you earlier, and now value of this is window rather than the foo object, and in window var.y is attached, so it printed hola. Now if you do window.y, it will again print hola, because anything that you declare globally gets attached to the window object, and that's what it printed. So it's another interesting question. So thank you for watching. Please go through my blog, link in the description, where I have documented all my front end interview experiences and questions. That will be a real game changer if you are preparing for front end interviews. And do like and share and subscribe.